There are certain words that follow us throughout life. They may seem simple, ordinary, yet they are the very root of love and connection. And that word is, my child. From the very first moment we let out our first cry, there were eyes brimming with tears of joy, trembling hands that held us close, and a voice choked with emotion that whispered, my child, you are here. From that moment on, our parents' lives changed forever. They no longer lived just for themselves. They lived for a small, fragile life to nurture, protect, and sacrifice for. And from then on, the call, my child, became the music of their lives. In our early years, that call echoed through every corner of the little house. My child, wake up or you'll be late for school. My child, eat another bite of fish to stay strong. My child, it's bedtime now. Tomorrow you have school. That call wove itself into every meal, every night's sleep, every summer day and every stormy winter night. It was both a reminder and an embrace. When we fell in the schoolyard, who called us back? When we burned with fever, who stayed up all night whispering, my child, hold on, I'm here. That call did more than just reach us. It defined our parents' lives. It was the invisible bond that tied two generations together, proof that we were never truly alone. As we grew older, that call came less often. Not because our parents didn't want to say it, but because they were afraid we might find it bothersome. We became busy with school, work, friends, love. Our parents quietly stepped back, watching from afar. They sat waiting on the porch, hoping to hear the sound of our footsteps. They kept the phone by their bedside, hoping for a late-night call. There were nights when a mother lay awake, listening to the wind outside, whispering softly, my child, are you cold out there? Only to be answered by silence. There were mornings when a father still set the table for 3, then quietly put one plate away, because his child wasn't coming home. The most painful day is the day that call disappears forever. No more, my child, to be heard. Not because our parents have forgotten, but the photo of the child on the wall, the shirt left in the closet, the pair of worn shoes. All of them become witnesses to a call that will never be spoken again. Have you ever asked yourself, what would it feel like if one day no one called you child anymore? What would it feel like if the familiar home echoed only with the sound of the wind? What would it feel like if you reached old age, and from that moment on, no one ever spoke those sacred words again? That pain doesn't fade with time. It only carves deeper into the heart. A grieving mother once confessed, every morning I used to call my child to wake up. The day they died, I still opened the door, still called out. But the room was silent. To this day, I sometimes slip and call out, only to remember, no one will answer anymore. The call my child may vanish from their lips, but it never disappears from their hearts. They still call in their dreams. They still whisper at the altar. They still speak of you in every story with relatives, because in their hearts, you are always there. If you are hearing this now, please pause for a moment. Think of your parents, the ones who gave you this life. How long has it been since you picked up the phone just to call them? How long has it been since you said, Mom, I love you, or Dad, I miss you so much? Don't wait until they are gone to realize you missed thousands of chances to say something so simple. And before we continue, if these words have touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe to New Golden Day. This is where we listen together, share together, and remind one another. Never let the call my child live only in memory. The emptiness that follows when the call my child disappears makes us want to turn back time. Back to those earlier days when that tender voice still echoed through every corner of the house. Do you still remember those cold winter mornings? Wrapped in thick blankets that never seemed warm enough. All you wanted was to stay curled up a little longer. Then from the kitchen came the smell of freshly cooked rice, the smoke of the fire mingling with the morning mist, and that familiar voice calling out, "My child, get up, you'll be late," vanished instantly. When you clumsily dropped your bowl or broke a cup, your parents scolded. "My child, why are you so careless?" Yet, minutes later, their voice softened again. "My child, wash your hands. Let's finish the meal." That call was never just words. It was an invisible net holding up your entire childhood. When you fell, it lifted you. When you feared the dark, it became your lamp. When you laughed, it joined in the joy. And perhaps the most unforgettable memories were those summer nights when the whole neighborhood lost power. Children ran around playing hide and seek in the pitch dark. But the moment one familiar voice called out from afar, "My child, come inside. The mosquitoes will bite you," tiny feet came rushing home. Not out of fear of mosquitoes, but because hidden in that voice was protection. Childhood was like a song, and my child was its chorus. Repeated endlessly, never offbeat. It nurtured us, sheltered us, and filled our tender years. But the irony is, when we grew up and left home, that chorus slowly faded, grew sparse, and one day disappeared. And when we finally remember it, it is often too late. The empty house, when the voice is gone. If childhood was a lively melody filled with the refrain, "My child," then for many aging parents today, the present is a silence that pierces the heart. The house is still there, the walls yellowed with time. The wooden bed still creaks when someone sits down. The old wardrobe still holds a faded school uniform. But what is gone is that beloved call. A mother still sets the table for 3, as she always did. She lays out an extra bowl and chopsticks, just like before. Then her hand trembles, her eyes stop, and quietly she puts them away. Dinner is just 2 elderly people eating in silence. A father still wants to call out, "My child, come eat," each evening, but the words choke in his throat. There is no one to answer. The rusty gate still swings open every night, but the child never returns. Only the wind rushes through the gaps, anymore, but I still leave it. I'm afraid that one day, if he suddenly returns and there's no place, he'll feel hurt. To an outsider, it may sound trivial, but hidden inside is an entire world of longing, an emptiness that nothing can fill. A house may be clean and full of comforts, but without that call of, "My child," it is only a shell. And parents, no matter how strong, are still aging hearts quietly waiting. Perhaps you're listening to this now in a warm room, surrounded by modern comforts. But think for a moment. What about your parents' home? Is it missing your laughter? Is it waiting for the sound of your footsteps? For you to walk in and say, "Mom, Dad, I'm home." If your parents are still here, do one simple thing when this video ends. Pick up the phone and call home. Just say, "Mom, I miss you," or "Dad, I love you." And if you want to be reminded often of these values, please subscribe to New Golden Day, where every video is a gentle reminder that it's never too late. There is a tragedy no parent ever wishes to face, saying goodbye to their own child. People often say that birth, aging, sickness, and death are the natural stages of life. In the ordinary course of things, parents go first and children see them off. But when the cycle is reversed, when a parent must bury their own child, it is not just grief, it is the shattering of an entire life. A father in his 70s once shared through tears, "The day my son passed, I sat beside his coffin and felt my heart stop. I've lost my parents, I've lost friends. but nothing compares to losing a child. From that day on, no one has called me Dad anymore. What cuts deepest is the familiarity. A mother who, every morning, was used to calling, "My child, wake up, or you'll be late for work." The day her child died, she still walked to the door, still opened it, still called out, "My child," but only cold emptiness answered back. From that day on, she no longer spoke the words, not because she didn't remember, but because the longing was too heavy to voice. There are mothers who still wash their child's old clothes, folding them neat. Wound that never truly closes. It quietly bleeds every time they absent-mindedly say, "My child," and suddenly remember, no one is there to answer. An 80-year-old mother once choked back tears at a support meeting for bereaved parents. People say time heals, but for me, time only deepens the ache. Every morning I still slip and call out, "My child," and then the tears fall again. The worst pain of all is the silence. Silence in an empty room. Silence at a dinner table where only two old people sit. Silence during holidays when the child no longer comes home. That silence, for parents, is a cry without words. Dear listener, perhaps you're sitting in front of this screen thinking this story is far away from you, but remember, today, if you still have your parents, that is a privilege. For parents, the greatest pain is not poverty or sickness. It is losing the soul they poured their entire lives into loving. There is a truth everyone knows but few dare to face. Our parents will not be with us forever, and the call "my child" that you've heard since birth will one day disappear. Do you remember the last time you heard your parents call you "my child"? Perhaps it was last week when your mother called to ask if you had eaten. Perhaps last month when your father reminded you to wear a coat. Or maybe it has been so long you can't even recall. Life's busyness carries us away. Work, our own families, responsibilities. So we often think, "I'll call tomorrow," but tomorrow piles upon tomorrow. And some tomorrows never come. People can wait for a bus. People can wait for spring. But aging parents cannot wait forever for a phone call from their child. Each time the phone rings, they hope. When it isn't you, the silence doubles the emptiness. Have you ever wondered, how many times have your parents cried quietly because you were too busy to call? How many times have they sat at the window, waiting for familiar footsteps, only to be disappointed? How many times have they glanced at the phone, hoping to see your number appear? Some things seem small, but for parents, they are life itself. A simple, "Mom, I'm doing well," can be worth more than medicine. A quiet, "Something strange about growing old." The older parents become, the less they care about grand gestures or material wealth. What they long for most are the small, simple moments we often overlook. They do not wait for a large sum of money to arrive. They do not wait for an expensive gift. They do not hope for some spectacular act of filial piety. What they hope for are the little things. One morning, the phone rings. A mother with trembling hands answers and hears her child's hurried voice. "Mom, I'm so busy, but please remember to eat breakfast." That's all it takes. She can sit smiling all day, repeating those words proudly to her neighbors. "My child cares about me." This morning they told me to eat breakfast. One afternoon, a father sits on the porch as the wind grows colder. His phone buzzes with a message. "Dad, wear another layer. It's chilly outside." He doesn't reply right away. He just sits silently, smiling, eyes moist, reading that message again and again as if it were treasure. Many parents don't know how to use social media, don't keep up with technology, but they know how to treasure every word their children write, every minute their children call. A photo you send, they print out and tape to the wall. A simple "good morning" they carry in their memory, repeating it with pride. One man recalled how his father waited every night at exactly 7 o'clock. His son would call for just 2 minutes. "Dad, did you take your medicine? I'm just calling to remind you." For the father, those 2 minutes were what he lived for. He often boasted to neighbors, "He's so busy, but he calls me every single day. That's all I need." Do you see? What feels like a small moment to us is often the greatest comfort to our parents. A brief question, a glance of concern, a gentle touch on the shoulder. Sometimes they are worth more than lavish gifts. And yet, so many of us think, those little things can wait until I have time. But time passes, and by the time we want to do them, there may be no one left to call, no one left to text, no one left to ask. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that we never did countryside. Every day she carried her wicker chair outside and sat by the door, staring down the dirt road from noon until dusk. Someone asked her, "Who are you waiting for?" She smiled softly. "I'm waiting for my child to come home. They promised to visit at New Year's, but the holiday has passed, and I'm still waiting." Some parents never say a word, but their hearts are always turned toward their children. Every time the phone rings, they rush to answer, eyes bright with hope. And when it isn't their child, their eyes dim again. A message from a stranger can be ignored, but a message from their child, they hold on to it like gold. The elderly don't wait for money, they wait for presence. They wait for a word of care, they wait for a call, and they wait their whole lives. This waiting is quiet, so quiet that often even their children don't realize it. But ask yourself, is there any loneliness deeper than waiting for a loved one who never returns? A psychologist once said, "It isn't age that kills the elderly, it's being forgotten." Because for them, each day without a word from their child is like living in darkness, and each call from their child is like a candle lit in a cold, empty room. If you've ever noticed your mother sitting longer than usual by the window, or your father picking up the phone only to set it down again, know this, that is waiting, and you are the only one who can turn that waiting into joy instead of sorrow. People spend their whole lives chasing fame, money, and achievements. But when you step into the later years of life, you realize all of that is just dust slipping through your fingers. What remains? The only thing that truly anchors the human heart is family. Parents don't count the money you send home. They count the times you walk through the front door. Parents don't remember how expensive your gifts were. They remember the smile you carried when you stepped inside. Parents don't need you to be dazzlingly successful in the eyes of society. They only need you to be the child who comes home, who still calls out, "Mom, Dad," with love from the heart. The value of family cannot be measured, and it can never be bought. A simple meal at home, the whole family gathered, is worth more than... You can even change where you live, but you cannot change your parents, and you cannot find anyone else who will call you my child. People often regret missing chances to make money or losing out on a business deal, but the greatest regret in life is missing the chance to spend time with your parents while they are still here. Money lost can be earned again. Success gone can be built again. But once parents close their eyes for the last time, that call of "my child" will forever live only as an echo in memory. Remember, family is not luxury. It is the simple moments you give one another. A meal together, a phone call, a few words of love. That is the true treasure. The only thing that remains when everything else fades away. In a lifetime, we are called by many titles. You may be called teacher, boss, doctor, director, sir, or ma'am, but only your parents call you by the simplest, most sacred words, my child. That call is more than a sound. It is love. It is the bond of blood. It is proof that you have never been alone in this world. And once that call disappears, you will truly feel what it means to be an orphan, even if you are 50, 60, or 70 years old. Imagine this. One day you return to your old home, but no one opens the door. No one calls, "You're home, my child." Only photographs on the wall, objects filled with memories, and a silence that stretches endlessly. You will understand then, the most precious thing in life you once had, but you let it slip away in your hurry. Do not wait until no one calls you my child anymore to want to turn back. By then, the chance will have slipped from your hands forever. Call your parents while you still can. Say, "I love you," while you still have the chance. Go home, even if just for a short afternoon, to fill their waiting hearts. Because one day, all that remains will be silence, and in that silence, you will hear your own heart endlessly crying out, "Mom, Dad," but there will never be an answer. Dear listener, if you still have your parents, cherish every moment. Don't let tomorrow become your regret. And if your parents are no longer here, keep the memory alive. Hold on to that call in your heart, so it will always be the light guiding your journey. Thank you for listening to the very end. If these words touched your heart, please subscribe to New Golden Day so together we can keep the call of my child alive, not only in memory, but in every moment of the present.